I think that's very important in restructuring processes. And I think the way I do it, or I did it, is transparency. I try to communicate. I don't like, the whole radical transparency movement kind of thing, because
Okay.
sometimes it's just an excuse to be an asshole.
Mm.
But I like to share my thoughts, right? Like, I like to share my train of thoughts with anybody who asks.
Hmm.
I like, I mean, and this is why I'm on the podcast.
Right, of course, yeah.
No, joking. No, like, I like to share with our employees. I like to share my train of thought. Why do we do what we do? Why do I make these decisions? Because in my career, I've always had this. Startups are messy, and people are like, "Oh, love to." I mean, it's a cliche. People love to talk bad about their boss behind their back, and I get it, right? Like, some decisions just seem idiotic, just seem like mismanagement. But the truth is, the inherent truth of being a founder is you're juggling so many things, you're managing so many stakeholders. It's really, really hard to please everybody. So you're going to be an idiot for somebody. And I think
Yes.
the only way that I had to mitigate this is to share why I did the decisions that I wanted to do, and that I had to do. And the people that didn't like them, and I think this is a little bit my secret sauce, how the whole restructuring went so well, was because I was so transparent in my train of thought and my decision process. People had the chance to say, I don't agree with you, I'm not going to be part of this.
Yeah.
Right? So we actually, I mean, we did have to let a few people go in the whole restructuring process. But I would say we got out of it pretty well without, because you always say, like, I mean, we're now 15 people. Back then it was like about 25. And you always say, like, if you have layoffs, you have to count with 10% collateral.
Hmm. Hmm.
We barely had collateral. The only person that
Really?
quit was because because of the toilet. Eventually, because of the toilet paper. He was the only person that quit.
And that they can probably thrive
Without us
at a
without
different
us
job like
wanting.
toilet paper all day long, right?
Basically, I mean, he was great. It was just not it was not his culture anymore. And I mean, that's exactly it, right? But everybody else who, like, we wanted to keep him, but it wasn't his culture. So, like, no hard feelings there. But everybody else who we had to let go, we that were, part of the restructuring, they I tried to maybe as transparent as possible, try to be like, share my train of thought, and it worked well. Is what I can say. It worked, and that's how I would say. Also, like, going back to your question regarding the soft pivot, I would always try to explain this without, especially to your employees, without the grandiose, startup pitch. Be
Right.
vulnerable. Explain to them what are the factors that led you to this decision.
It's what we sometimes call, yeah, yes, you need some Kool-Aid, but you also need some truth serum, especially internally, so that you don't just buy into your own BS.
Absolutely. I completely agree. At the end of the day, right, like, we're founders, and
Hmm.
as founders, you have boundless optimism. You have to have, or else
You
you're
must.
gonna, I mean, it's the job description, or else you can't survive. But yeah, the Kool-Aid will only get you this far, right?
Hmm.
And especially in, like, such a precarious situation, you do have to, like, measure, have, like, just, measure your Kool-Aid very well.
Yes, exactly.